Board Member Armstrong, would you like to open us with karakia? Please.
Kia tau mai te maramutanga, kia tau mai te rangimarie, kia tau mai te kaha me te pai whakaro o tēnei kōpapa, ue pākie. Let's be grounded in clarity, let's be peaceful, let's be strong and considerate for this purpose, fine together, and so it is.
Board Member Donaldson and Councillor Ellis, if you'd like to join the table, feel free to join us. So welcome, Grant and Joe. So just for the board's reference, Councillor Ellis would much rather be in Motueka and be able to work with Councillor. She knows that's where it all happens and it's where she comes for a heart of community. Alrighty, brings us on to apologies. I'm not sure about Councillor Walker, but certainly I've got an apology from Board Member Hutt. Any heard anything from Trinity? No. Okay, so I'll just move Board Member Hutt's apology, seconded by Councillor Dowler. All those in favour, aye. Against carried. Moves us to public forum, and we have 4 people registered for public forum. Mr. Hallier, you have the first 5 minutes. Oh, welcome.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Motueka Community Board. Article 19 of the International Declaration of Civil and Political Rights states, 1. Everyone shall have the right to hold opinions without interference. 2. Everyone shall have the right to freedom of expression. This right shall include freedom to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas of all kinds. Impart, I want you to keep in mind, impart information. There were 2 issues that arose from the public forum of last month's Community Board meeting, which begged comment. Firstly, there were 9 speakers registered for the forum. You were placed in the invidious position of having to refuse some of those registered. This is entirely your prerogative, and I wholeheartedly agreed with your decision. However, I did not agree with your comments following the contribution of Matt Peter. This speaker complied with all the restrictive censoring conditions set down in the confirmation response from Democracy Services. Regardless of the relevance of the speaker's topic, it is my belief that meeting etiquette requires that you, as chairman of the board meeting, maintain a duty of impartiality in the public forum. All Matt Peter was doing was imparting information.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Williams. Sorry, was there any questions? Mr. Williams. Come back to Mr. Williams. He was here. Oh, sorry, Mr. Williams. I'm looking over here.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members of the Community Board, good afternoon. It has been very interesting monitoring the increase in the use of the electric buses. Certainly has been very positive. What I'm interested to know is, am I right to assume that rain and sun shelters will be provided soon for the protection of waiting passengers? Number 2, with the High Street cycleway now being deferred, does that mean any remedial work on the road surfaces, example outside West End Jewellers and on the surround tar seal of many inspection plates, will also be further delayed? And I'm thinking specifically between Poole Street and Old Wharf Road. And number 3, just a suggestion to recognise through the Community Board our appreciation of the 50 years of service given to our community by Mr. Derek Woodcock and Mr. Ron Heald with the Motueka Volunteer Fire Brigade. And number 4, as a well-known businessman in our Motueka community was present at our board meeting when a lady who lives in Whakarira Street gave a public forum presentation on the daily dangers she faces in walking her children to school along her street with no footpaths available. I would like to assure this particular member of the public what has happened by our intervention to help provide her with a safe solution for the protection of herself and her children. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Corey.
Thank you.
Thank you. Committee board members, ratepayers, and people who use the Jamie Seddon walkway. Any of the councillors here been past the Jamie Seddon walkway lately?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Somewhere there will be a picture coming up in a minute. That's the one. And that is now the view you get from Tasman Bay. I bought property here thinking I had a really good location, but that looks like a boat person fence to stop people coming inshore. Question I want to ask is, the photograph graphically depicts how unsightly and inappropriate this hastily erected structure that has been foisted on us Motuekans, who used to really see incredible views, so near and dear to us. I have not encountered any positive feedback on its looks or fit for purpose, other than a really ham-fisted erection supposedly enforcing health and safety standards. Is this under the community board jurisdiction? And if so, when was it authorised for construction? I'll draw attention to there's no TDC linked to the fence, as is the case if you look at the Jamie Seddon notice board. And that is a TDC board advising people to be very careful about going to that wreck. I've seen people jumping on that wreck. I've had a tetanus and a lockjaw because I had tetanus because I got a rust nail in myself. So that has been correctly dealt with in a part. But here, if I can have the picture up again, please, Kelsey. You'll see there's a sign there that says "Do not enter." Now, I want to ask a question: was this a TDC construction? Who authorised it, and under what circumstances were we not allowed as residents to have a say in it? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corey. Ms. Ritchie.
Thank you. Thank you, Honey Mai, the old board, and council and Gin Pub. Thank you. Lovely to be here. I'd just like to bring up. I have a few questions and points. I'll sit down, Dale. Regarding, and put my glasses on. Dix Reserve and Dorks Bush play areas. So beginning with Dix Reserve, I have 8 photos. So we've got that's Dorks Bush. Can we go to the please, the other file? So just to give some background on what my 4 questions are, my inquiry is what we see or have seen here identifies these swings as past their use by date, as was told us in the 10-year plan meeting a few months back. Because I see we could sandpaper that rust off, apply some WD-40 or CRC, what your preference, and just add some and repaint it. I'm sure, like I know a few community groups that would be happy to do that, but we're told that they're past their use by date. So my question for the board to inquire about and respond with is, what is it here that points out that that identifies it being past its use by date? Now, being deemed past their use by date or unfit for purpose, what happens to this equipment? And when and how do we get to have a say in that matter? So it's begging consultation again. So in regards to the consultation process regarding the $128,000 budget for our playgrounds, I am saying there are better ways of letting the community know the swings are unfit for purpose, and there's a budget to add inclusion for wheelchair users and for an upgrade of the playground. So I'm wondering, can you tell me who the author of the process or who created the strategy that we could apply feedback to them on their, it's like the structure of their consultation? Because I just had some great ideas. So that's it for Dix Reserve. And Thorpe's Bush, right, I have points. So here we go to Thorpe's Bush, where we have some swings. This is a view of Thorpe's Bush coming in from the north. Oops. Basically, we will see the play apparatus, various views of the play apparatus, and then we will see the rubbish bins. So my points are, of the years and months of agendaed statements, who keeps whoever accountable? For example, the specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely goal for the youth council to paint the rubbish bins. When, what, how? So I am sure that there are many local kindies and playgroups who will do this to put cash in their coffers and complete this within their own community resources. So they're the swings. This is the playground. Now, also, Thorpe's Bush is a bit sad because the play apparatus, I think, is fine looking equipment. And rather losing it to someone's backyard because it's been deemed to be removed, what about, I'm just thinking, the men's shed could dismantle it, and then local community could like do a design plan and make something else out of what is already there, so that it's not going to cost thousands of dollars. And if we add loads of lighting, then maybe this will shy away the nefarious from using it at night to do their devious deeds. And especially if there were late night cameras installed that don't camera people during the day, but just at night when people should be at home in bed. Anyway, the ones that are age specific for that playground. So I leave you with these points, and I thank you for your time. And just an addenda to the e-bus stops. What about the residents who live behind that bus stop and get to have an audience, 4 times a day? Can something be done for them? Like, can you build some special fences that are e-bus height to protect the residents from the gawking public view? Thank you.
Any questions for that? I might have played to it.
Oh,
It's unclear.
okay.
So for Dix Reserves, what is the
Yes.
strategy and the process that's occurred to get the redesign of Dix Reserve? Is that
No, what is the process, and like, who designed the plan for consultation?
okay? Yeah.
And then for Thorpe Bush, why is it taking so long to get the rubbish bins painted in there? Like,
Well, I'm just asking for that. I'm using a strategy called SMART goals,
yep.
specific, measurable, who is holding who? Well, it's not that, they were just an example, but there are sort of years and months of agendaed statements in the minutes and in the agenda for stuff to happen there. How do people become accountable? How you know, and also, oh yes, I'm also noting that the last hiccup being iwi consultation. And why would this meeting with iwi conform to board and council requirements, and like any no-show, lose the option of input? Like if iwi don't turn up to a board meeting like we do, then they lose the option of input.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, as far as I understand, that's public forum. Okay, so if we go into declarations of interest, any? Being no declarations of interest? Welcome, Councillor Walker. We were worried about you. Someone to move the August minutes. Or not? Moved Armstrong, seconded. This is going to be a long meeting.
I've had so much trouble with my computer, I don't know.
Okay. Councillor Dowling. Any discussion? All those in favour? Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Okay, what we might do is Rob here. Oh, Dan's here. Yep, that's it. What we might do is we might just go to item number 7.1 and just quickly do the discretionary board application. And I probably jinxed it because I thought that I'd probably get a mover and a seconder to the minutes a lot quicker than I did, but I think this application will be fairly quick. That's been jinxed. So if I send you guys to page, no idea, 7.1. Someone give me a page number. Page 5. Through here. Through, and can I invite Linda to come up? Linda, welcome, Linda. So what you have in front of you is an application from the Tasman Bay Blue Penguin Trust for $700 from discretionary grants funding in front of you. So welcome, Linda. Did you want to say anything first, or do you just want to take any questions that are there?
If anyone's got any questions?
Any questions? Board Member Armstrong, and then
I've got two questions. One is the board secretary, I think. The 1.4 says that the fund currently has 2,526 in it. And last month it had 16,382. So I'd be interested to know how much money we do have, because if it's what report here 2,526 means we've got 9 months to spend that, which is not going to travel very far. So that's something I think we need to someone check on and get that right.
Mr. Manners is going to scream to do that at the moment, and then if you've got a question for
I just want to know what's the money to be used for. That wasn't answered in the application.
We're using it for lure. So for lure to put in the traps to attract the pests into the trap. So we use different types of lure. We use dried rabbit. And we use a blue cinnamon paste, and then there's a green something or other. Because I'm all smelly. What we do get donated to us is peanut butter from Pic's peanut butter. The rest we have to purchase.
$700 will cover how much years worth?
That would pretty much, given what we've got on board at the moment, that will pretty much give us a year. Yeah, so that would be really good.
How many roughly rodents in that do you think you track per annum?
We, on average, about 60 per quarter. So it's about, say, 250 per annum. I mean, it varies a little bit depending on the season. Sometimes it's more, sometimes less. Mainly rats. But we do aim to get the mustelids as well.
Councillor Walker.
Yeah, thank you, through Chair. I'm happy to pass it. I think it's a great thing. My one question for you, Linda, is the what you trap, what you kill, is that graphed? Like, does that data get fed into a wider database, or do you keep the relevance of what season it is, what's being?
Yeah, we keep the relevant data when the team, we've got a roster of people who go out and do it, so they always report back their catch each time. So we're keeping a track of that, but we also input it into Trap NZ, which is a nationwide database.
So you do feed it through.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions? So move for Councillor Walker, second by Deputy Chair Graham. All those in favour, aye? It's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to go, are we going to Dan? We must be Dan. Welcome. Presentation transport choices. Guide us through what you've got there, Dan.
All right, so just on a verbal update this time. Like last time, yes, I've just sort of selected a number or 4 or 5 headings that I think are most relevant at the moment, but of course feel free to ask questions if there's anything else that you want covered off. So I was going to start with the safe systems audits. So just, just confirming, most of you probably already know, but we are required as a condition of the funding to go through audits by an independent safety engineer for all of the designs. And they're being completed by a company called Via Strata. All safe systems audits need to be complete with comments by TDC against each of the points raised, and then those comments need to be accepted by Watahi before the implementation funds are released. So that's sort of a quick overview of how that process works. The implementation funding itself, we're applying for that in 2 stages. The first half of the implementation funding has been applied for already, and we've had the Schedule 2, which is the confirmation of the first half, signed on the 13th of September. So that amount is secured. And the remaining implementation funding will be applied for on the 29th of September when the final designs are complete and the safe systems audit's done for those. As some of you will know, there's the traffic control devices approval process, and which is any traffic control devices need to be voted for by a full council before we can implement them. So that's things like yellow no stopping lines, no parking lines, zebra crossings, car parking changes, anything like that. It's a traffic control device. And so in the council meeting this week, the following sites will be voted on, and that is Old Wharf Road crossing, the Tudor Wilkinson intersection, Tudor Street cycleway, Tudor Thorpe intersection, including Harbour Road, and Par Talbot intersection. Also included in that first batch is the Parkland School crossing, but because that's an existing crossing, it doesn't actually need to be voted on because we're not introducing a new traffic control device, just upgrading the existing. I was going to briefly talk about Old Wharf Road crossing. So if that is supported this week in the council meeting, that would be the first site we'd look to start constructing. And if it is supported, we'd look to start on site 2 weeks after the council meeting, which is on Thursday. Current program is 7 weeks to construct, and it's based on a full road closure. And constructing it under a full road closure saves quite a significant sum of money, and also probably about 4 weeks to the program. Future outlook. So subject to support by council, the next site planned for construction after Old Wharf would be Power Talbot, Parklands Crossing, Tudor Wilkinson intersection, Tudor Street cycleway, Tudor Thorpe intersection, and the Harbour Road improvements. Then yeah, designs are sort of being finished off this week for some works on the western side of Motueka, including a sealed cycleway on Queen Victoria Street opposite the airfield, a shared path down the western end of Parr Street, past Tiafina Marae and around the corner to Whakarewa Street. And also the footpath on Whakarewa Street. So that missing section is about 250 metres long on the northern side of Whakarewa Street. Yeah. Anything else? Any questions?
Questions?
The
Board member Armstrong, then board member Hughes. Yeah.
last one you mentioned there along the, so does that mean from the Marae, from Parr Street corner, all the way down to the start of
Aiken.
King,
Can you?
Yeah,
well, so
that's
there's
all going to be a sort of a.
well, not quite. So you go down Parr Street, right, and past the Marae, round the corner, and then you go and then down to Whakarewa Street. So that's one shared path way along there. And then on the other side of Whakarewa Street, there's a section there there is space there, but it's very close to the existing properties. So there'll be quite a lot of consultation required with some landowners, and we just don't think we have the time for that section. So that will be the last piece that would hopefully be done in the future. And then when you get up to Green Lane, it would start again and it would go all the way down to King Edward. So it's Green Lane to King Edward, and then the other end.
Is that gravel or asphalt?
Probably asphalt or chip seal. Yeah, it's definitely not gravel. That's what the idea is, that we're upgrading it to be sealed, either asphalt or chip seal, probably asphalt.
And Barry, Councillor Dowland mentioned a couple of meetings ago the flooding problems along that section from Green to King Edward.
Yeah,
has that been looked at as well? We built up.
Yeah. It is definitely something that needs to be considered. And so there's no stormwater reticulation around there, so we would have to put in soak pits.
Mine was basically the same as that, just with the add-on of the Lower Mutri School. There is an area missing there that you were going to be doing something with.
The Lower Mutri School, so it's pretty minor what we're doing there, but so it's because I spoke to the principal a number of months ago, and yeah, they identified some areas, and yeah, we've sort of got 3 of those included in our scope. One of them is so just as if you're going along that cycleway along Queen Vic, or I think it's Mutiri Main Road by then, as you're approaching School Road, the cycleway just sort of curves like that.
Yeah.
So you get away from the intersection when you cross School Road. So the principal's comment was kids come flying up to that curve, and because it's not sealed, it's sort of some old chip seal and a bit gravelly, they slip out and there's a lot of injuries, sometimes end up in the ditch or whatever. So we're just sealing on the curve. So we'll asphalt that. The other one was just a bit of tree trimming down Robertson Road. So just to improve visibility when you're wanting to cross Robinson Road if you're on that same cycleway. And then the third was the airfield. The airfield stuff.
It's all looking pretty good along there.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be great.
And safe school.
Hi.
Just for clarity of process, so the report from 21st September is going to council, this is with all the plans that you've just highlighted, is going to council strategy and policy this Thursday. Full council, is that this Thursday? So full council this Thursday, for them to confirm or approve or deny the go ahead.
for those sites.
for those sites.
Yeah.
And does the, because you've done a consultation and stuff now, is that already gone through council or does that get presented?
That's it, so it's all included in the same report, so as
And-
part of that, so it's the traffic control devices, which is a section under the traffic bylaw, I think, and that requires like a 4-week consultation period to be done prior to presenting to council. So in the report that's gone to council, there's a summary of that feedback received that 4-week period prior, and then so that's part of the report that goes to council for them to vote.
So when did council get the report?
Oh, I don't know, I didn't do it, but it's probably about a week ago or so,
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
maybe more.
okay, so potentially 7 to 10 days, full council would go through 426 pages. I'm just looking at. is that-
Yeah, it's only part of the.
Or just their project though? They got 1,200 pages.
No, the project probably 80 pages, 100 pages. Oh, go to the agenda.
It's a lot of scrolling though.
But thank you to be chair for acknowledging the read heaps. 54 to 263, so 209 pages. For the district, so Richmond.
Yeah.
Oh, it's,
So with the scope.
Mr. Chair, I can't hear. Can I get you to speak up? Because it's really hard
Yeah,
to
we've heard,
hear
yeah.
anything.
Thank you.
That's certainly noisy there, I can.
Yep.
Can't
We'll be
talk
back.
much now. Is the scope finished now for the whole project, the things that are going to be done? And if so, we can see it ourselves.
Like a final kind of a scope list.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what's going to be done, what's
yeah.
not.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't really changed from the last lot we presented, I don't think, but yeah, we'll take that as an action, and just provide a bit of a updated scope list, make sure that that's the same as what you've seen before.
Last one I remember was a spreadsheet type thing.
Yeah.
And there were a whole lot of oranges,
Yeah,
things,
So-
so,
yeah, we've taken out the colours and said that's what we're doing,
okay,
so we can provide that.
thank you.
You have questions? I've got one, and it might be something for Rob, or it might be preempting something for Tuesday is there been a cost of how much it's going to cost to maintain once it's done and forward budgets? It might be a Rob question, Dan, to be fair.
I thought you were.
And if not, preempt the same question, I guess Thursday.
Funds coming from for the maintenance.
That-
plan?
that- that-
Am I allowed to ask?
No, no, sorry, so
All right.
you could have registered for public forum, but no, you can't ask, you can ask outside the meeting, but just not sure.
I guess the answer is, there's not a specific piece of work. This is like a maintenance cost in the future, but it's essentially concrete and asphalt going down, and it's engineering without a significant maintenance cost. But I mean, it's probably a fair point. We should use something, an individual.
I guess from a
piece of work
board perspective, and the heads up is that there's a lot of concern on our existing infrastructure and the lack to fund that. So
Yeah.
by doing more, how do we fund all of that is one of the challenges. And I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
So just maybe preempt.
We'll take an action there and we'll report back on it.
Any other questions?
Can I ask one?
Sorry,
Can I ask at the meeting?
once we're finished. Any others? Thanks, Dan. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go on to Chair's report, page 13. And just if we can correct item number 3, it should read Motueka Community Board Tasman Resource Management Plan workshop. It may well be regional, but it should read. So the members want to pick up where you got to with that? Chair Graham?
So we met with Golden Bay and virtually. And they've gone away and had a discussion, and we've gone away and had a discussion. At this stage, we, the Motueka elected members, would like to have a meeting with Adrian Humphreys.
Did you just want to hit that as an action?
Yeah.
Okay.
And next.
Oh, do you want it as part of the meeting, or do you want to have a workshop with?
I would just presume that we would want it at the meeting, is this?
Yeah, well, potentially. It's potentially a pre-one and at the October, because otherwise our timeline gets pushed out a bit, so.
So is it, you're going to arrange a pre-workshop with the regulatory manager? Is that?
Yeah, if we just say we'll arrange a
Yep.
meeting with him, and if it ends up being an invitation just to October meeting instead.
Okay, yep. So the danger at the, so just for process, so that if you have something framed up to bring, so if we had that now and we had said, this is what the board wants to do, we can now send that in.
Yeah,
That's the start of your process, and
Yeah.
somewhere how you bring that into an agenda item. And it's probably poor through the chair's report, but that's the only mechanism we have at the moment. But yeah, so just so the longer you do delay it, the longer it gets pushed out before formally you start making progress on that.
yep, so are you suggesting that we?
I think if you arrange to meet with the
Yeah.
regulatory manager sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
and then-
yeah, but do you suggest we also include in there to invite him to October,
It
regardless if we have a meeting prior?
depends what you want. So if it's if you're asking the regulatory manager to produce a report on a omnibus or a change to the TRMP, then it's probably strategy and policy. So it's probably John Ritt's team that was here last time rather than, so regulatory manager enforces the bylaws and the policies, the strategic policy people, and that's the bit you get, that's the bit that's influential. What are the rules and the guidelines? So it's probably with strategy and policy.
We still,
I don't know, yeah,
still need to meet with Adrian.
board member views.
So to clarify, we've come up with two issues. And we're going to try and run them parallel, I think. For me, this is all new on trying to get it going. So either way, as long as we present something at the next meeting and it's in
So your time
your
for
books
that
to,
is about 2.5, 3 weeks from now. Somebody from Democracy Services will be asking for agenda items.
Yep.
So if you give yourself 2.5 weeks, you might have a half a week spare to get on the next agenda. Is that timeline? Yep. Oh, Councillor Walker, sorry. I can hear you, but I can't see you down there.
Please, you can hear me. I just want to ask, is this weaving and ducktailing into omnibus plan that's already in process? Because if it is there not a time frame whereby this discussion has to be pushed to meet that deadline? Otherwise you miss out.
Potentially.
Are we going to disclose when that could be?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea when there has been one recently,
Yeah, we
That's
missed
how I
the
looked at
vote
it.
on it, so we don't want to miss if there's another potential one coming up. So
So
could we have staff clarify when that has to be done by, please?
we put it in action and ask John. Yep. You have no. So the item 4, board members have had the letter from Ms. Griffiths, and it's there to acknowledge that the board members have it. And also to acknowledge that for whatever reasons, this has now become something that's probably going to court, which ties board members' hands a little bit if that is the case and something doesn't change. So in terms of anything else or anything the board wants to do will be difficult for them. And I guess as a person who was involved in the early stages, I just sometimes think I probably made it worse being involved. But it's there to acknowledge that we've formally received it and whatever use.
okay, so the threat is it's going to court. The issue, I believe, for the community board is the fact that in that process, there's come about some fairly serious issues of unanswered questions. That's what I think we should be concentrating on. If we're having to keep out of the court side of things, I think we need to address, or we need to seek some clarification on what appears to be an ongoing situation of questions from people to our service provider that don't appear to be getting answered. In particular, with this case, there were a series of questions put to council, which I've had confirmed they weren't answered. But there was a second follow-up where there was obviously a denial to visit. But that was because of the unanswered questions. You can see it was what's the word for it? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, really. So yeah, for us, I think we need to seek clarification on the not answering of questions, which I have brought up in the past at the public forum. I can provide some evidence to, I think you may have been copied into one of them. Okay, that's me.
I didn't buy the
Does that
I don't know if it has gone to corporate accounts to speak, but in Ms. Griffiths' letter, it implied that.
does that mean you're saying it, we can't have discussion or engagement? Like as a board, we can't discuss it and we can't engage with.
I'm nervous to discuss it without Ms. Griffiths here. I'm nervous to discuss something that's about somebody that, if it is going to court, that that's where that process ends up. And there has been engagement probably 18 months, 2 years ago, by 3 members around this table now. And like I alluded to, I don't think it made it any better, to be fair. So it comes back to the point before, is that if the board can get into the role of setting the rules and the process of the policies, once it's in process and policy, that's what the staff do. So if there's, I don't think there's, yeah, there's not much more to say than that.
It does need to be noted that at the Meet the Candidates meetings in both the Upper Mootry and here, that there was an acknowledgement from most of the candidates that there were issues with a department. And I think it's certainly something that needs to be followed up with.
So I guess the outcome from this is important that publicly we acknowledge as a board, you've all received that letter. So board members have that. And that was the reply that I gave to Ms. Griffiths at the apology, because it should have been in last month's pack, but I missed it. So it's in there. It's a matter of absolute record to members around here of what concerns are. I guess if you want to have a conversation as an individual, you can, but you're also involved in a system that sets the rules that are enforced.
Yeah, I guess my concern is well-being. When someone's distressed.
Yeah, and we mightn't leave that there for now, because that's the same as terms of, I think I'd feel gutted if you guys were talking about when I'm not here. You're welcome to, but.
We don't, sorry, through the chair. It's more of when you look at the systematic part of it, and there is clearly an issue over unanswered questions. That's something that we need to address regardless of who the subject matter is. Does that sound right?
Seems to be a common theme, council.
So just for courtesy, is that if I attend anything, I'm really courtesy to the process of the meetings, and I sort of expect the same if you're in public forum. So it's absolutely a public meeting where you have the right to listen and hear, but it's not one that you can interact with,
Okay.
please.
Can I just say though, sorry,
No,
That point,
I guess that is the point.
Yeah.
So
but you're saying you can't speak to the points, but we.
I'm
can't-
saying right now that please have the respect of this table, that whether you agree with this committee or this organisation or not, we're here because we've been elected by the wider community. That can change every 3 years, but at least give the table the respect that it deserves.
I am, but what I'm saying is I can't talk to.
So
the-
either I'm going to adjourn or you're going to stop talking.
It's just. Tyranny.
Thank you. Okay, so just picking up on Mr. Williamson, so Woody and Ron Heal's service was over 50 years, so 51 and 51 and a bit. Not only through Motueka Fire Service, but through Messi and St. John's. And they had a very good function that celebrated that on last Saturday before. Kia Sato visit. So on behalf of that committee, there was disappointment that the board didn't show for those two things. So whether that's a computer calendar issue or whatever, acknowledging board member Armstrong, your apologies that were received, but you were the only one that sent them through. So thank you for that. The workshops that are coming up, so we're waiting for those dates, and that will include the joint one with Golden Bay. So item 8, it's attached, and that's probably the area where Deputy Chief.
The code of conduct workshop, I believe to be absolutely important to all us, especially in light of recent developments with myself.
Yeah.
We need to have this training to know what we are accountable for.
So can we just note that, so in terms of that,
It needs to be a date we need it sooner than later, not just let's have a talk about it. Thank you.
So item 8 is interaction with the Community Board's Executive Committee, so CB. That's the area that if you're keen, we can get you involved. So it's the chairs or the representatives from the local Zone 5 community boards and pieces. But Hampton District Council currently in this process has a representation review coming, and part of that is includes community boards. So there's a whole lot of reading and stuff there for that. Okay, items from public forum. So I'll note the comment from Mr. Hallier in terms of that Mr. Forey raises a good question. I don't actually know the answer. I don't know if Mr. Is it a council?
So apparently,
Apparently, what do you know? Because I see we've
It's-
got Mr. Redburn here. He might know.
if someone actual knows,
The council officers know where the wooden fence at the old wharf in Motueka Key has come from. Has it been put there by council?
Sure.
Can we find out? Because I've heard the similar rumour.
Yeah.
Councillor Dowler.
We got an email several weeks ago, and I can't find it. One of the thousands that we get showing that fence. And I just been trying to do search while we've been going through the meeting, but technology blows me away, so, but it's in there anyway. There was a picture of it saying that it'd been erected.
There is the update, council's update diary.
Okay.
Mr. Strange, do you know the answer?
Through the chair, it's because I remember this person here not long ago and you raised it with me and I did go and find out. I asked Steve Richards about it, my colleague, was put up by someone in infrastructure. And I can't remember the name, but I will find out for you and understand why that was put in and you know, when wishes you wanted to know. So yeah, I can find out. I'll find out tomorrow.
Thank you. If you could just email the board, that'd be
Yes.
handy. Thank you. Board Member Armstrong.
I received emails about this by Keep Motueka Beautiful because I'm still associated with them. And I've just gone back to an email I got. It would be a 23rd of the 8th, so that's 3 weeks ago. one of the members said, wrote, I've finally been able to talk to Lynn Hall, who told me that Rick Lowe and David Stevenson, who were engineers, were responsible, and she didn't know about it until it was up. Although she said that because a warning sign had been placed there, council felt there was acknowledgement that it wasn't safe, so they felt compelled to make it safe. So that's, she went on further about Heritage New Zealand, but that's.
Thanks, and Tony, if you could just, thank you. Okay, the playground discussion. Mr. Strange, it was a perfect attendance. So before we get to the specifics, it was around, were you here for 3 public forum?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. And I'll.
Welcome, Grant.
Got better timing.
I got a bit of money. So in terms of playgrounds, when are they deemed no longer suitable for use, replacement? What happens to them? How does community get involved in consultation, planning and designing them? Start anywhere you'd like me to.
So just initially, when I started, there'd already been quite a bit of consultation with the youth council and this local on this committee as well. And I think it's a project that's so no, this is Dex.
Oh my goodness.
Dex, yeah. So yeah.
Sorry, board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll get on to Thorpe and North as well shortly. But so I understand there was lots of consultation from 2019. If that's enough. I know that there wasn't any iwi engagement because it was really only about upgrading, and I'm not sure why that didn't happen or not. So hopefully that answers that one.
A little bit of the earlier background. So the Thorpe Bush is special and unique and of cultural significance, and it has a reserve management plan around that. And so the protection of that area in terms of the remnants of Te Matu is special to the wider community, and has actually one of its guardian angels is sitting in the public forum, Mr. Ogilvie. So there was a report that was undertaken by Youth Council probably 2019, 2018, maybe even before that, on terms of bring back Thorpe Bush in terms of safety concerns and different activity that was deemed undesirable or criminal happening there. And they had a view as a youth council that actually by rejuvenating it, getting people in and using it would create an atmosphere that would probably discourage behaviour that wasn't acceptable. And that took a long time because there was many parties, many stakeholders involved, and some of the recommendations was seen as actually potentially taking some of the significance away and enhancing it as a recreation area rather than a special reserve, that status. So it's been there a long time. It's been frustrating for the various youth councils. I think there's been 4 youth councils since then, like complete turnovers, not just change of members. So that's sort of the Thorpe Bush one. So where that ends up, that's a good question, because I'm lost because I don't know what the future planning for Thorpe Bush currently is. Councillor Walker can handle it.
So I can probably add to that, and that with the change of staff, the youth council now re-meeting. So there was a period where we had nobody to lead through that contract. So we now are meeting every week. To assure you, it's a huge commitment. So every week the youth meeting, and I tabled it on last Thursday. We've now changed our meeting day. However, last Thursday I tabled it, and you will be getting an invite to come and talk to them and for them to come back on board to find out what their thoughts are around what was given to them as a project way back before 2019.
And then Dex Reserve started similarly. So there was a youth council chair, Chris, took the youth council around and did a youth perspective audit of playgrounds around the district, and out of that became an identified need for something that actually catered for children with disabilities. Thus, the amount of community board money was put aside for a specific item, And then out of the sky, an amazing person turned up from the North Island and took playgrounds by the hand, and the vision has grown somewhat. And Councillor Walker, and you can probably talk about the Deep Reserve. Can you capture it now, wait for the special projects then?
Yeah, I'm here to talk about that.
Or should we capture that in special projects?
Yeah.
So just what happened, who decides when they're old, Tony or Grant? And what happens to them if the playgrounds are old and disestablished or replaced? So what's the process?
Well, generally through the chair, it's a lot of our maintenance providers, provide us with weekly and monthly updates on any health and safety issues. And a lot of the suite of our playgrounds are generally all of the same age at the moment, but we also get playground inspections as well. These items that this person's, sorry, I don't know what your name is, but
That's Richie.
Jude brought up, it's because they are solid steel, they can be probably upgraded by painting and removed and used somewhere else, because they're not the wooden posts which generally rot down the bottom. So there is an opportunity to do something with those once we remove them. We have in our design, we've got a 3-bay all accessible swing going into that area. So that's the reason why it's really coming out, so that we can provide for accessible play, really. That's the main reason that's coming out.
And it is fair to say we've had some dialogue already around repurposing them, making sure they meet a safety standard and where they could potentially go, which is not in my backyard.
No. Through the chair, I think the main one that I did get assessed to be removed was the slider that we're taking out to put in the carousel. That can go into, we were thinking, obviously keep it in the area, in the region, and that could go into Richards Reserve. Now, if there's another piece of equipment that we can repurpose, which possibly is that swing that you're talking about, maybe we can. Certainly open to not wasting and providing for the community if we can. So.
And then the last one I've got is in terms of a strategy and measurements against that strategy, is it the annual survey that's done? How do we know that people are satisfied with the outcomes of our local reserves and playgrounds?
Oh, I guess we hear about it pretty quick. Yeah, there's quite a few processes. I guess our request for services is one of them, but annual plan process. I think it's fair to say that our, as I said, regionally, our play suite are all of the same age. It's a problem that I think we're going to have to face soon with our renewals. If you look around everywhere in all of our wards, they're almost the same age and of the same, design. Probably when you dig down underneath the cushion fall, if you dig down, what we ask our contractors to do might look fine from the top.
So the swing's okay, but.
Yeah. Oh, well, we ask for, we do health and safety checks for structural in the ground kind of areas. So the swings might look fine at the top, but if we have to replace posts, then we replace them. Our contractor does a lot of that work. We have Nelmac who does that. I've already organised a little bit of work for North Street, replacing decks and things like that. But as I said, it is going to be a problem for council. It's something that we've raised in parts that a renewal program would be beneficial.
Thanks, great. Said that we also carry out full checks of all our playgrounds in terms of the New Zealand playground standards. So we do that, I think currently it's 3 yearly.
Yeah.
I should know that.
It's quite stringent.
Really. Is there a level of service or plan, strategy, what do you want to call it, to provide more, provide less, provide different play area? Have we got that in Tasman District currently?
It's probably something that we need to, look in terms of future programming of that. That is something that would be pretty useful.
Any other questions from the board?
Just touching on another point you raised around, she's talking about the bins at Bush, and if like community group would paint them up, and if that's something council, like as in, instead of getting a contractor in, get a community group that wants to do some fundraising or something, and that's something that council can councillor Walker.
So I can add to that conversation as well. There was a lot of dialogue backwards and forwards from the Youth Council and Lynn Hall around what was deemed acceptable, and my understanding is our town, Keep Motueka Beautiful were part of that dialogue. So what the youth proposed, they were told actually that wasn't okay. So it went backwards and forwards around what would be deemed acceptable, and then nothing happened.
So just for clarity,
So I will take up that conversation.
amongst
with
external
Lynn Hall
stakeholders.
and, so we have one youth councillor that is still on the youth council that was there 2 years ago. So her and I had some dialogue the other day, and between us, we will follow it up to find out where we're at with the bin painting.
Maybe just relax for a couple of seconds because you're up next, I think. Okay, and then Mr. Williams, in terms of the bus shelters, does anybody know the answer? I know that we looked at a site over here for one, but does anybody? Councillor Della.
As far as I'm aware, they're going to give it a few months before they start looking at it, because some of the bus stops might be moved if they're not suitable where they are. So it's a trial and error situation. At the moment, there are only lines on the road. There's concerns with the couple down Engle Street about they're closest to the funeral centre, et cetera down there. So it's just a matter of the traffic management team keeping an eye on things, making certain that safety is a prerogative. There'll be obviously an audit on how many people are getting on and off at certain places, whether they stay there where they are. At Mapua, I already had to shift one bus stop due to 2 buses being damaged with people running up the back of them. So there's bits and bobs that they will be doing. And then once everything's put in concrete, the structures will be probably put in place. But it's not going to happen tomorrow because they want to make sure they get it right first time.
To be cheap.
Do you know if the residents have been consulted around the bus stops and where they're going, the shelters?
Well, at the moment they're there. If they're going to be shifted, they will then be, the people will be consulted if they're going to be where they're shifted to. But at the moment, it's only a month old. You just can't make a decision that quick.
That the current residents were consulted, where they currently are.
I have absolutely no idea. I presume they were. They would have to be some say that there's something going to turn outside your driveway, that your parking is going to be removed, etc. I wasn't sure of that process, how that actually worked. I assume people would have been given the opportunity to give feedback. I know the Mapua people did, so I presume the Motueka people did as well. But everybody, I haven't heard any grief.
I have. That's why I was just asking.
It's always after the fact.
Yeah.
Human life, human nature.
Yeah.
Wait till something happens and then you bitch about it.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if
So
the process was followed and consultation was done, or I don't know. That's why I just sort of checked with you if you knew.
as far as I'm aware, there was consultation was done in Richmond, Wakefield, Brightwater, here.
Yep.
Yeah. So I can't answer any more than that, but I do know that it's a living document until they are happy that it's successful where they are. I have a concern on one myself. I'll be interested to see if it's shifted, but I'm not making any noise at this stage because we haven't had an issue as far as an accident goes. But yeah, so it'll just be, I'd say give it 3 or 4 months until we know the usage of them, how many people are getting picked up, dropped off, etc. It may be a better location somewhere else. The Engle Street one might be better off outside the Top 10 holiday park. Who knows? So hey, let's just wait and see.
Okay. I guess number 2 is that lies the issue in terms of as we build this, how do we maintain them? So that just because some work hasn't been done, will there be other things deferred?
Yeah. Biggest issue with maintaining was the smashed windows by the vandals.
Bus stops. No, this was about roads.
Oh, sorry, sorry. Yeah.
So we've recognised right here. And if Mr. Williams, if you didn't pick up, yes, that stretch of Whakarewa Street between Grey and Queen Victoria is in part of the Transport Choices project to put that walkway in. I think that's public forum. Okay, items from board members. Well, says councillors first. Let's go board members first. And then we'll go to councillors. Board member Armstrong.
Yeah, just two items. First, I note again, we haven't got a financial report. I don't know if we have one this financial year yet. It's nice to know. Well, it could, for instance, clear up that question I raised back at the discretionary fund application of whether we got 16,000 or 2,000 in that fund.
I suspect Mr. Manners has already sent an email because when you raised that question, I asked the same question.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Chair, I've sent a message through to find out why there wasn't a financial report, so I don't know the answer. There will be one, so as soon as we can get it, we will send it round to members off cycle.
You. And my second question is around the RFCs for this year. Normally or in fact, I think it was agenda back up to at least 2 or 3 meetings ago that we would be receiving that in terms of how they're going to be spent within the Motueka board. This has been held up, I'm aware of, it's related to a land purchase, but I haven't heard anything more since then. And I thought that by now that would have been given us some clarity. I absolutely
certainly by the next agenda, you will have absolute clarity. Yep.
Last time. No, you didn't say it last time.
No, so absolutely. Potentially we could have had a potential confidential item in this one, but the time was tight. So I said we'd do it next month. So the same reasoning as before is yes. Board member Hughes.
I have mentioned them before, but just to clarify, to make sure it is involved, the issue of unanswered questions from various people in our community needs to be addressed. We need to discuss it. And the complaints there, we were involved in complaint with the aerodrome, which you made some requests to Lagima. As I understand it, we're well past the reply date, but that's my understanding. I may be incorrect here.
No, you're not incorrect, and I won't guess it to mine. I've raised it with democracy.
Okay, because as I said, we have been involved, and we've been copied in, or myself have been involved in negotiation and discussions. So
all I can say is, because it's a fair system that doesn't matter who asks for the information. Sometimes you wait a wee while. It doesn't matter who you are.
I'm rather happy that some.
I thought you might be. There's nothing.
We'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Right. Councillor Walker.
Had some dialogue today with regards to Muses Cafe and the works that have taken place on their forecourt. Their concern was that they hadn't been notified that they rocked up to work today to have that forecourt coned off. And their understanding is it's going to be like that for 2 or 3 days, which has a huge impact on their business. They're not unhappy for the work to happen. What they were concerned about is, again, no one spoke to them about it. And I'm not saying that that's our responsibility, but I'm putting that out there as what my community have said to me.
Can somebody tell me what's happening there? Because I've drove past it and saw all the trucks.
I understand they're updating the streetscape there. There's 2 ugly trees that we just got rid of. Some on the high street going to be planted again.
And seating removed.
Yeah.
They're just shifting it, so they still stay there. They just move.
But again, it's a little bit sad that we've got a retailer who has been impacted and we have not had the decency, whoever we is, to communicate with them.
It's a streetscape project. It's not a museum, but it's a streetscape. I don't. Okay. Does anybody help me? Who might be looking after that work?
Okay, it might be Rogan, but I could be wrong. I'll
Muses don't want a big song and dance about it.
So
It's just out of respect.
Is it?
Project, yes. Isabel Mosley was.
Keep Motueka beautiful.
So it's right.
We're just gonna have a round table next time, invite everybody on.
Something was brought to the museum meeting a couple of months ago.
Right.
And, yeah,
Okay, because it's Muse's lease, a sublease with the museum.
they do.
Yeah, okay. So if somebody can just find out how come nobody knew about whatever was happening, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
And my other point that I wanted to raise is concerns that I've had from a couple of people in my community around removal of a medium strip to negotiate buses to turn corners. And I'm just really concerned about, so I'm talking about Vosper Street and Angle Street. So my understanding was that island was put in there because there was a lot of T-boning happening and people not stopping and acknowledging that intersection. To accommodate our e-bus, we've taken that island out. How do we mitigate the problem of why we put the island in the first place?
Because there was a number.
And is there a cost that our community have to pay continuously? Because what happens when the next accident happens?
Councillor Dowler.
One good one happened. I was communicated by one of the local policemen a few weeks ago. In this Thursday's agenda of council, you will see the mitigations being put in. 2 thumping great big stop signs going up there. And if people like to.
Vosper in Ingalls, not Vosper and Green. Would. Cool, thank you.
No, huge penalty. If you drive through the stop sign, then you shouldn't have a license.
Okay. Nothing else? Are we sure? There's one other thing. So on the 30th of September at I think 11 o'clock is the opening of the skate park in Motueka. I know Councillor Dowler, you're away.
Yep.
So I think it's 11 o'clock, but Saturday the 30th of September is the opening of the skate park happening. And for the Golden Bay Community Board sent an email which I sent out, and I had 2 replies about the board's interest in having a training joint session with Golden Bay Community Board. So does the board want to do that?
Is this the $1,200 one?
It's the course coming in to do training for it's probably the same cost regardless, whether it's 1 board and 4 people or 2 boards and 8 people.
We have no say in the Treaty of Waitangi at all. We don't have any jurisdiction, I understand.
It's about understanding.
Yeah, but I believe we've got a bit more, we need to be spending our money on fairly important things. We're discussing the cost of trying to change a bit of legislation, and the pushback is about how expensive it'll be. So I'm looking at trying to save money wherever we can to make sure we can get a little change.
So for councillors, we can say that we've had significant workshops just after elections. So I guess for the elected members, you don't have to, the offer's there, mate, do you want to join them or do you want to pass on it?
Well, if we have to pay, sorry, I'll shut up.
I think I mentioned in my reply that it would be coming from, assume that training.
If this board goes, I guess the expectation is that you'll share that cost rather than Golden Bay bearing it on their own.
And our own, come from our training
Budget.
budget. So it's money that couldn't be spent on anything else anyhow.
Not entirely true, because the workshop we had with Mr. Drummond will, and the next one with Matt, will provide the board an opportunity to potentially reprioritise that budget, which is quite a bit of carry over at the moment. So I guess I do need, does the board want to spend money on the workshop, or does the board not want to spend money on the workshop?
It's a vote.
Anybody want to move it?
Not moving. My response to you was I'm happy to go along with it. I've already been through several courses of that nature, and I feel
I guess where I'm sitting as chair is, I only did get 2 responses. And there should be an expectation of cost if it's a joint training program. And now I'm asking the board, is there somebody who wants to move, that there's attendance between the board? And if there's not, and I guess, it's a conversation with the chair of the Golden Bay Committee saying, the board hasn't supported it, but am I able to attend?
I'll move.
I moved?
Move.
Moved?
Yeah.
Yep. Is there a seconder? I'm happy to second it, just so we can go through this process. So moved Armstrong, seconded Maru. All those in favour say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Against? We're gonna need you guys. It's only for a training budget.
So you're talking about the board as in 4 board members? This is where I get really confused. Can you clarify what
this
you
is-
mean
this is-
by board? Because the last workshop, we weren't allowed to attend.
And this is a
So-
training, session, and it's
So is it open
and it's the
to
whole
7?
of board's budget.
Right.
So currently you have 4 Armstrong and Maru against Hughes, Graham. So we need one of you to make a call because we're tied.
Okay, I'll go against it then.
Okay, get done. Slot. But at least we got through that. Okay, action list.
Can I just say something regarding the public forum?
Yeah.
I'm really pleased to see that the shingle track down Queen Victoria Street will be addressed, the transport choices, because it is a thorn in the side. And it was never, ever finished completely because we couldn't afford to do that. So the other transport choice money is going to make that happen. I'm stoked that that is going to be sorted. Number 2, I'd like to thank the public of Motueka for supporting the bus service since its inception. The word is, in riding at the stage, 3,000 bums on seats on the Motueka run to Nelson and back. That's pretty cool. I just hope it keeps up and keeps growing. It's very pleased to hear that. Yeah. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
I agree.
I just thought it'd be worth us acknowledging the community public meeting that was held, that majority of the board attended on 23rd of August.
Yep.
Because it's not noted in here. And then I understand there was another one held on
And
last
three
Sunday.
of the members were that one as well. So Councillor Walker, Board Member Hughes and myself. We can acknowledge it, yeah. Anything else?
No, I think he's got the project.
Okay, so then in terms of the action list, does that still need to be there? Is Rob still looking at because that's going to be an RC project, isn't it? The toilets and water fountain and free walker playing fields.
Yeah, no, that probably doesn't need to be in there because it's sort of underway, as in he's doing some work in the
Okay,
background.
we can take it out. And the next one, to just clarify, after I think I've got this now, is that the statistics that the board has asked for would be referencing to homeless people that are encountered by the contractors enforcing Freedom Camping Act and where they refer to. So that's the stat. So in terms of just clarifying the stat is what's reported through control services, and what that pathway looks like.
Shouldn't it be also the statistics of those that have been moved on from where they are? So technically, if people have been moved on, council would know about it. So if you are living on a piece of land somewhere and then you are moved on under the TRMP, the 8-week rule, technically you become homeless. I know you're going to find another place in hiding, but I thought that's what this was, not just.
I don't know. I was trying to interpret it because I wasn't at this meeting. But when we met,
living in vehicles,
when we met with police and stuff, then I thought, oh, this makes a little bit more sense because what council collects will be limited, but in terms of moving under TRMP, that stat would be collected.
Yeah, well, they would know how many people they've moved on or actions they're taking against people. Yeah.
So that's the other part of it.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'll need to clarify the question because what's written down here was the way that was interpreted was about homelessness, and council doesn't collect statistics and information specifically on homelessness. When it comes to people residing in vehicles, we only know about those that we are either required to speak to or we come across in part of a business. So the board needs to acknowledge that there may well be people living in vehicles that we're not aware of. And some board members may be aware of it, but council may not. So we need to be careful about what it is that we are looking for to make sure that we give you as accurate a picture as we can, bearing in mind that, as I say, there's some of that information is just not within our purview to collect or provide. Other agencies, central government agencies do that. So with that in mind, if we can get some clarity around the question.
All of them struggle with the same question.
Yeah, they do.
So in terms of the control services reporting, in terms of those that are homeless rather than freedom camping, there will be a reporting mechanism for that now, because there's a different way of approaching that when the act changed. And then to Board Member Hughes's point is those that have been moved from a land where they haven't been allowed a second dwelling or temporary access, we would know how many of those we've moved. We don't necessarily know if they're still homeless, but we'll know how many have been moved. And that's probably the stats.
We've got those stats. Good guess.
Yes. Yeah.
Didn't you?
And we were going to get them quarterly.
And that's what it's saying. That's what's sitting there. But it was just trying to quantify exactly what stat you were asking for.
And also, I'm not familiar with the subject, but I'd like to find out whether or not Adrian's report to the Environment and Regulatory Committee has that detail. I know he has detail on the activity of enforcement, but I'd need to have a look at his most recent report to find out if in the subtext there's the breakdown that you guys are requesting, and in which case that would go to Environment Regulatory on a quarterly basis at least.
It's probably just that excerpt.
Yep. So I'll find out if that does exist, and if not, what we can do to put in the sort of reporting.
Yeah, to clarify, people living in vehicles. At the moment, I've been sent some information from a concerned resident saying that, including herself, there's 21 people who are going to have to move due to regulatory issues. And so I am hoping that in the next one that will be obviously addressed in one form or another, because council are well aware of it, because it's the council regulations that are causing this, or the inability of a person to meet the regulations, which is in effect causing it.
Not
So
here, but I'm quite keen on anything you might have, because I've exchanged a couple of messages with that person, but I've asked at a council level, and I haven't had any confirmation that that has been the case, because I believe there's possibly two sites.
oh no, it's happening now. So it's about to happen. So what I'm saying is, so it won't be happening right now, but there is now a failure to meet camping ground regulations. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So there will be a flow on to that, because and council will be well aware of the resulting failure, because you can't carry on being a camping ground. So those people are going. So that's just a little bit of advice there. There's somewhere to look at your statistics.
So that's
That won't turn up for.
how do I say this without sounding obtuse? That presupposes that while council knows the regulation that it needs to enforce, and they might be aware of a situation where people are staying, we may not necessarily know specifically that someone's been there for longer than 8 weeks or whatever, unless it is brought to our attention either through a complaint or a council officer has reason to visit. All right. So I hear what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you at all. There is that area of being aware of a situation and knowing about a situation. They're two different things. So I'll make sure that I can go and find out the information.
So scrolling on. So the next one, let's just take the next one out and leave it with Claire, because she's going to be away a month, otherwise that's going to lurk, and that's around whether she's going to follow up and attend the operations committee and ask for something to be on the agenda. So just take it out of the action point. So page 16. Our town Motueka replacement plaques. So that's all about the library plaques. So we probably on page 17, the meet with police, probably change quarterly to Scott Satherley quarterly, rather than Martin. So that happened on Friday. And fire and ambulance.
I spoke with Mike and it's been real busy, but we're aiming to have a meeting before the end of the year.
Cool.
He said he's back to you as well.
Yeah, so they are wanting some work done on Primer Lane, which Steve Elkington's looking into some sealing along the driveway there. And there was something else. Oh, and he'd fed back in terms of response times, which I think it's in that paper, council. What's the next one? So the next one is the Lagoima request in terms of the Motueka Airport, the board member Hughes alluded to. So yes, I'm still waiting for the reply from Lagoima. I think the others are okay.
Through you, Chair, I've got a couple of bits of information.
Yep, great.
Where am I? The action around our town Motueka to arrange research for a replacement plaque.
Yes.
So it was raised in public forum. The plaque can't be removed from the wall of the old library, as I understand it, without causing significant damage. It's been cemented in place.
Great.
But that board member Hunt is researching the history of the gentleman, and that detail will be displayed somewhere in this library at a place yet to be determined.
My understanding was the outcome from Mr. Ridley here was we were going to have an additional plaque, historical plaque, and that was going to be the format.
Yeah.
So when board member Hunt got the information, it was going to be done up in.
Yeah. And the other one around the workshop at after the September meeting. My understanding too is that's 6th of October. I got that date right?
Yeah, you're probably
Yeah.
Hall.
I'm not sure about the venue, I'm afraid, just that it's scheduled for the 6th of October.
6th of October, Memorial Hall.
Yeah.
The library's, yeah, Memorial Hall.
It's our venue, so.
I think it was, many members responded that we don't do Zoom very well. So thank you to the other members that commented.
I
on
remember
that.
the emails.
Yeah.
And the issue that Mr. Forey had around the e-bus, that's been resolved to his satisfaction, I understand.
It's my understanding.
Yeah. Oh, we talked at the start of the meeting about, or before the meeting, about the signage business frontage. Damaged by the camber.
Yeah.
So I need to get some information from the roading team about that and what our responsibility is in that space and what we can practically do about it. So rather than wait for the next cycle, I will see if we can get an email circulated, unless Councillor Dowler's got something that he can.
I just understand that the Wakakatahi evaluation of the surface in the area down past Murray Thorn, etc., was part of possibly reshaping the road. I'm not sure. It hasn't come through yet.
I'll ask the roading team.
It hasn't come through to the Regional Land Transport Committee at this stage, but they were investigating the substructure to work out why it was falling apart from what the Wirra Street corner. Et cetera, and that was done at night just recently, I think. So no doubt there'll be a report coming back somewhere. But I do know there's something happening to try and they were supposed to recamber that road several years ago, but they didn't for some reason.
I'll get some clarification. The final one for me, I think just this afternoon, board members should have received an email from Leith around in relation to the action item relating to the TENS claim.
There's an email on your email that's there explaining the letter and the background. What about the AA?
Oh, yeah, so Claire was going to speak to that, so she'll probably do an email around.
Anything else on that action list?
There was one other, I had, service request for the slash under the Motueka Bridge. I believe the slash has been cleared. And there's one other I had here.
Frustratingly so.
I'm handwriting. Either gifts from
Kisato?
Yeah, Kisato. They've been on display here in the library. They're currently in Janine's office, pending a decision on where they go permanently or whether they're part of a rotating display. Yeah, I think that's all I had down notes for me to cover.
Councillor Walker.
This isn't on the action list, but I'd like to see some action on it, and we'd have the relevant people sitting at the end of the table. We invested in some toilets at Goodman Park.
Oh, yeah.
Have we got a date whereby said toilets are commissioned and open and functioning? Because we've just missed yet another sports season and school events whereby the rec centre had little kids trooping in and out, and several accidents of an unpleasant nature to be cleaned up due to lack of access to a toilet in time or walking distance. Do we have a date whereby these things will be
Flushing.
Yeah, so just through the chair, I checked with our projects team who is finishing off a few things on the exterior. And they said that it's pretty much imminent, so yeah. Sad to hear that we've missed one or two events, but there were some finishing off or touches on the exterior that were not complete, so it was locked until that was finished.
Is there a ribbon cutting or how will my community know they're open and functioning?
Totem.
Look at those. Didn't think there would be, but are we going to put a message out that they're now functioning and operating?
Social media.
Okay, so let's move the chair's report, seconded by Armstrong. Sorry.
There's something on the action list. I might have been sleeping at the time.
No, probably just.
Just to read to inform the board and timeline on omnibus plan change to be.
Oh, that's the question.
Yeah, and we sort of discussed on that before. Sorry, let me get back to my notes. I've already shut them down. The note that I took was that there needs to be further interaction with council. I'm not full council. I'm not exactly sure when that has been timetabled for, but in the absence of further discussion, there is a diarised date in calendar 2024, but that's not to suggest that that is the last opportunity for changes to happen. Just that, to use John's words, water needs to flow under the bridge with councillors first in terms of how we lay that timetable down. So the short answer is that there isn't a clear timetable yet. There needs to be further discussion with councillors before we can provide one.
Right.
Got something on the special projects.
I know we were about to get there.
Oh,
No, we're
okay.
about to get there. The special projects are a separate item, isn't it? It doesn't look like it here, but it is. Yep. So moved me, seconded by Armstrong. All those in favour of the chair's report, say aye. It's carried. Now 7.3, we're on special projects. We go item by item, so thought push.
One.
52.
So thought push through the chair, it's probably part of a discussion I'd like to have with Dex Reserve playground upgrade. And as well as the street playground upgrade. So if I could talk about that at the same time, there'd be some discussion I'd like to have.
Right. Have you got some pictures there?
I've got some large pictures, yes.
Right. Councillor Walker, seen them now?
Pardon?
Have you seen them now?
I have. Thank you. No, not those ones. I've seen some. Can't see anything that I can see now.
Okay. Let's do playgrounds. Oh, that was boring picture.
Well, yeah, I probably don't want to pass this one out because it's got some numbers on it, but anyway, I will. And you'll get some pretty pictures.
Glossy green and yellow seats.
Oh, bear with me. Yeah, I know. I need glasses.
I'm sorry.
Rusty.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Let's see, we've got 10.
Oh, that's right. To never assume from afar. People still play basketball. I'm just doing that. because I'm Especially sitting there.
Big dabbles.
Has everybody got a copy you want?
No, I
can figure you.
crib over.
All right.
Wow.
Through the chair. I think it's great. What you have in front of you is another iteration of ex-reserve playground upgrade. Most recently, we were asked to look into a 3-on-3 facility and locate that. So I did that with our landscape architects. Option A is one of the options that the landscape architects came up with. And as you can see, that's moving the space net to the other side. Rather an expensive option, and I can give you the figures on it, but it's certainly more than what is on in front of you with option A. But the reasoning for that was around keeping the play spaces on one side of the fields, and then not encroaching that much, because I understand that we have events here quite regularly. But in saying that, it's an option that I felt that was not financially viable. I mean, we are already looking at how we're going to be able to fund this. So option B was one that I really wanted to focus on, and one I wanted to do some high level figures on, which is the next one. So landscape concept option B, and that's obviously keeping the space net where it is. Since I last showed you these kind of pictures, the only thing that's really changed is adding the 3-on-3 facility to this, but also if you look at number 9 or C, we've joined the two play spaces together. And that's because we're trying to create more accessible opportunities for our community, and that'll mean that the idea out of all of this is to have a pour and play surface, which is wheelchair accessible throughout. So that's really the driver. I understand that's still the driver for this project. It's a really expensive process, as you can see if you look at the figures, which is you'll see that half of the estimated costs for this is mainly around the softball surfacing. $354,000 to provide accessible opportunities for our community. I just want to say that I think this is something that's going to be impacting us across the region. It's impacting us nationally, and for our parks team, we'd like to try to do something like this in each ward, and whether we can do it here soon.
Councillor Ellis is very passionate about a destination accessible playground. How do you think about Motueka, Councillor Ellis?
It's a great
Some of your RFCs is what we're saying.
start. Great to see Mott leading the way.
We just need a little bit of hand.
Is there some RFCs from Richard?
Yes.
Yeah, it prays a lot.
Just to clarify, I know the budget looks quite scary. It is, and it's something that's been driven by the need for accessible activity. But in saying that, when we do decide and how we fund this, I don't want to really get into that because it's something we can't really discuss right now. But soon we may be able to work into understanding how we might be able to provide funding for this. Grant, I'm going to say that we're trying to find funding within our budgets as well. Some renewal funding, which will help go towards providing this facility. But there may have to be a staged or phased approach across a couple of financial years, depending on availability of funds. So I guess what I'm saying is that what I'd really like to do is understand soon how much money we may be able to allocate to this project, and then really that will help with getting a better idea around how we're going to phase this or stage it, or how far can we go And where else are we gonna have to find some more money? So I'm open to questions. Please, fire away. Anything.
Look, I'm just impressed. I really am. This is, it'd be lovely if you could just find this money and do it. So the 350 grand, the softball surfacing, is that the grey? Is that on all three of those areas?
So it'll be on C. If you look at C, which is, I'll hold this up.
Yep.
C. This area here, we weren't going to cushion for because that's really, it'll be difficult for creating accessibility to that particular play space. But the goal is to do the entire area. This area here is kind of looking at just a staged approach, and we've got some funding associated with the areas that we could do. But the problem with that is that if you do staged approach, and so that might mean that we're having the bark cushion fall in some areas, you've got to put it in, cost you, then you got to take it out again and replace it with the accessible. There's not a lot of efficiencies in that financially. I guess our preference would be to try to do the best we can as soon as we can. But as with everything, it's a funding, it'll be a funding driver. The driver will be our funding. So one thing I would like to say, the contingency is high, 20%. So it's 141 based on the figures there. So that's quite a large contingency, only because this is only one estimate that's come from one supplier, the landscape architect. So we should find quite significant savings in tendering, splitting concrete work out. There'll be a lot of stuff I think we'll be able to gain efficiencies out of. Council will purchase the equipment rather than say, the landscape architect doing the purchasing and putting a margin on it. We'll try to do the best we can to buy the equipment without any margins or markups, just through council. And now our team does that a lot, which normally doesn't happen. So.
Yeah, I just have a question about lighting. So what's your go on that?
Well, there is an item up the top, lighting and drainage. We put that in there just because, there will be some sort of need for some lighting, I believe. And it just depends too on what that might be, because we are quite close to residents as well. We haven't lit, I'm not sure that we've lit any of our play spaces anywhere.
We don't tend to light them because it can attract sort of negative activity as well.
It's just a
bit of
comment.
safety issue sometimes.
Just the area just out here, just the eyesight used to be a table and chairs picnic area. And I happened to call onto the eyesight one day and the manageress come out and she said the antics that happened under the lighting from the eyesight centre on that particular Friday night that was captured by the security camera. I mean, one of the best pornographic movies she's ever viewed in her life, and she quickly deleted it from the hard drive. So I would not be favourable lighting an area that would probably encourage that sort of behaviour.
Through the chair, my initial savings was to wipe out the lighting as one of the items I wrote in my notebook. Drainage might have to stay there. There is a drain over there.
Drainage, I know about that.
Sorting out, but I kind of thought that's another, hopefully a nice little savings we can make there as well.
So I think years ago we looked at lighting the skate park, didn't we? We decided that there was enough moths floating around there doing drake deals as it was without giving them light to do a problem.
Kind of suggestion for, well, I think you had to save some money. I think would be area D, needing it smash. I just can't imagine people with wheelchairs. I can't imagine a wheelchair because there's plenty of things to do. I don't know why they would go into there. You probably can't do much You're in there.
Through the
It's
chair.
$96,000.
Through the chair, correct. I probably should have just crossed that out, but I agree that would not be poorer play. It's called, that would stay Park Cushion for.
In this spreadsheet, at the moment, it's a double up, isn't it? Because we've currently got the combined total of both the pour and play or the mulch. So under B, we've got pour and play and mulch, and under C, we've got pour and play and mulch. So I take it that 354 is both mulch and pour and play, not either.
I didn't bring my email with me. I would have to add that up. I wouldn't have thought. I'll have to clarify that. I'm sorry, that's a good question. So what does it say at the top there? Prices yes, and that's for the pour and play.
Yeah, that's the important one.
Yes.
That area there especially, well, I mean, I'm thinking if you're handicapped, depending on, I mean, that's the area you're gonna go to
Yes.
first, surely. I don't
Yeah.
want to be.
Thank you. I'll clarify that, but I just need to, I can't add up like that.
Councillor Diallo.
Question, how big square meters is the?
Oh, it's 15 by 11. 15 meters by 11 meters. And that's 3-on-3 FIBA size hoop.
I understand it, I'm just looking at the price of the concrete.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's not true, because I'm about to do 245 square meters.
Hence my,
And my costing there is $28,000. And it's happening next week, and it's a driveway, so people can drive on it.
yeah. Who's your contractor?
Like,
Pardon?
Have word with Baz, you'll do it.
So my intention was to certainly split out any of the activities and get the best bang for buck that we can. This is a one-off. I guess this has come from Nelmac's project team, and that's probably got margins all over it. So
What it looks like in those costings is the shaded one, so 4.2, and then 65A, 65B, those shaded ones aren't in the totals. So they're the alternatives.
all right, okay. Thank you for pointing that out.
Other questions? So I suspect that if this is the playground development, that will consume the remaining RFCs, if you want. Which sort of answers the thought push question, because this would be the investment. So that's probably what the board needs to consider in terms of destination playground Dex Reserve. There may be some movement of stuff that's no longer linked to other one. It's not an endless string, if we can get that far. Board member Jess.
My thoughts are is Dex Reserve is a hub, it's a centre of the town, and I think that's where we need to push what we have got there. Just as, you know, yeah, does that sound right? It's the centre of the town. It's a beautiful spot, and everyone, lots of people come here, especially on Sunday, Sunday markets, etc.
So any other questions about this? Because this will form a big part of the October RFCs report for choices in terms of where you might allocate RFCs. And in the meantime, if Councillor Dowler and Councillor Walker and I can take Councillor Ellis to lunch and you know $500,000 RFCs on loan for interest free for the next 10 years, it would be helpful.
Really, Chair, can I just say one thing that I did, our project sponsor asked me to go and have a look at the other two playgrounds and make sure that they don't require any further, or are they okay? Is there any health and safety issues? I have got a quote to tidy up the North Street playground, which we'll do through our operations budgets. and Te Matua and with all, I mean, it is what it is at the moment, and I agree, I understand the significance, and I think that particular space is gonna need considerable discussion and probably a year of designing and consulting, and, you know, we would prefer to design and consult in 1 year and deliver in the next if we can. So that's our thoughts for the parks.
Council and Walker could take a generic conversation with the youth council. There may be an opportunity to back out that 10 or the remaining of that 10 from thought push short term and special projects and reallocate that.
Well, as previously said in this meeting, the youth councillor are going to invite Tony to a meeting to have a open dialogue around where they're at with that. And what options are available.
Cool.
And now they're meeting weekly, that will happen sooner than later.
That can be one of the discussion points, destination playground, move funds across. Any other questions on playgrounds? Just stay there while we get in there. So the next one's skate park, so opening 30th of September. It's actually looking really good. I met with Lynn down there this lunchtime, and just had a discussion about what's going to happen with the raw dirt on, because that's quite rough and rocky, and but it also provides a valuable jump off area, and so it might just be carpet and bits of pieces. But it's certainly was with Brody Knox was there, so we've been working alongside those some of those historical key uses of the park. So thank you. And it's her day off today, I heard, Grant. It's her day off. It's her birthday. Oh, she didn't tell me it was her birthday. Missed opportunity. So yeah, so that's looking good, and Councillor Shellcrass is helping to put together a little mini comp thing on the day of the opening. So anything else?
We're running a barbecue.
There's a Mighty Tent barbecues booked. So, yeah. Accessible playground, we've covered that off. Marahau Sandy Bay Association.
Meeting this coming Monday.
$1,300. The cemetery we've covered off. High Street, we got an update last month in terms of those plaques, and that John was going to fund the one for Edward Ferrin for the library. The saltwater bars. I don't know. I don't know. They were close. What's the last one? I don't know. We'll get an update next month. Yep.
They're on the way.
Saltwater bars.
I'm wondering if there's something Steve Richards has been working on, but Councillor Armstrong.
I haven't heard anything more. I haven't heard anything. Haven't chased that one.
I was at the plaques.
$5,000 improvements to saltwater baths. But I've got a feeling Steve Richards is working.
Yeah.
Through the chair, I think Lynn is dealing with that. If that's just landscaping and planting,
Yeah, right.
I think Lynn's dealing with that.
Okay. And then the cycleway transport choices link and Alliance contribution, and that. So that's in hand. Is the projects team currently doing that now?
Projects team currently.
Okay.
That's scope I was asking about.
That's Rob O'Grady that's leading that one.
Yeah. So that's the Becker to Waver Street through to past the saltwater bars to the Harbour Masters Yard stretch of bits with the
I just.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, I got to meet the harbour master. Unfortunately, trying to save a yacht which got tied up in Mapua. It's quite awful, and yep, there they were all day, well into the evening. I mean, top marks to the man. And Paul, I think, yeah, the new guy, yeah, but really dedicated and got some real good ideas. Made a good choice there.
Picnic table with the
landscape plan for out here. It's got an email saying it's gonna be.
And then there's an update from Steve again in terms of Stevens Bay. Just there for your information, and then we probably don't need that. That's probably spent $10,000.
Yeah.
So that's now part of the Transport Choices project.
Yes.
And there's budget that I've seen in that. Won't be quite a bit yet, getting on Thursday.
They are current surplus of. Special.
Yeah, so the special projects that potentially you'll have is the Thorpe Bush money, the Whakarewa Pa on Queen Victoria Street funds, plus a carryover of $160,000 in the report on Thursday. So it's in the carryovers, so the board's current total budget. So that's why that workshop with Matt will be helpful in terms of the board deciding what they may want to do with that carryover funds. There is clear as milky water. Yeah. Anything else on special projects? Anything else on playgrounds? Anything else you want to ask before we move the receipt of this report by Dowler Hughes? No?
Sorry, I'm just, we did move it out of special projects, but I'll just quickly touch on it because Stephen's gonna talk about it in October as well, just about the Motueka Cemetery. So we've done a walkthrough and some of the stuff's gonna be moved to maintenance with Lynn Hawkes, so they're having a meeting and he'll report back in October.
Yeah, so that's that $10,000 for the
Eight.
within the do stuff rather than.
Yes, so, yeah, he's got a wee update, with the Motueka Cemetery. So, we've done Stephen came over and done a walkthrough, so he's identified which is gonna shift over to the maintenance and the parts of the plan that, you know, they can get ahead with. We'll bring that to the board in October.
Anything else? I just made that move down last second to use up, is that right? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Board member Armstrong, will be coming back to you. Closing karakia.
And you can build up there. And thanks. Well done. Kua mutu a mātou mahi, o tēnei wā, anaki mai, mātou katoa, o mātou hoa, o mātou whānau, ai ki te aorangi. And you can see what it says.
Good. Thank you. Great. Well, 3 minutes to 6.